What's good? What's happening, Rush Nation? Welcome to the live stream, or if you are an audio listener, an OG as we like to say, welcome back to the pod. It's episode 77. We've made it. If you are watching via the stream or the later video, you'll see that I have relaxed back onto the bed today for today's episode because it's bowl week, baby. And it wouldn't be right if I didn't do it without my partner in crime. Ash is back. We've got no idea how long this is going to go, so I thought I'd lounge on the bed. Ash, welcome back, man. How you doing?
Yeah, it's good to be back. A bit of a last-minute change of plans on Monday, which meant I missed that one, unfortunately. But yeah, glad to be back and looking forward to chatting about some bowl games coming up.
I mean, to be fair, the Pac-12 got way too much love Monday, so it's only right you're here to squash any Pac-12.
Yeah, exactly. Got to even it back out, haven't we? But no, it's always good to have Jordan on as well. So
100%.
Appreciate him stepping in and helping out. It's been a bit of a mad couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah, and we had some for Jordan's, unluckily for Jordan's appearance, we had some Washington news break. Obviously, Jordan is a Huskies fan, so it was a little bit later than perhaps he'd have liked. But there is some Washington news breaking about a quarterback to Washington. I say breaking. Yeah. It was yesterday or the day before. But here we are. It's Wednesday. We missed last week, as we said. It's bowl week. We had to have another one with me and Ash. We're here. We've got so much news to talk about. The rankings. Then we've just got about I don't know how many bowl games there are, Ash. Do you know how off the top of your head?
I think it's 42, 43, including the national championship. So yeah, it was 40 standard ones, and then it's the playoffs. So
they had to add a couple of years this year as well, didn't they? Because of teams with a 6-6 record.
Yeah. So the way that they're usually eligible, I'll get out of the way now because we're going to be discussing bowl games a lot. But for those that aren't aware, there is eligibility rules to be eligible for the bowl games. Of course, obviously the rankings come into that. Anyone outside of the top 12, anyone inside the top 12 fall in the playoffs and the New Year's Six, which we'll get onto shortly. And then the rest of the top 25 fall into their own bowl games. And then you've also got any eligible team is it's basically the opponents they play who are FBS standard. They get basically counted towards if they have more wins than losses, or if there isn't enough teams, it's then the next best team. So, for example, it's very rare that you'd see a team that's under 6-6 or anything like that get a bowl game unless there's too many that are under 6-6. So it's in essence an extra bowl. It's an extra game for the teams against a team that they wouldn't usually play, and a reward for how they've done in the season. But there's teams that are in 6-6, 5-7, and stuff like that get invited as well, depending on it, because they've always got minimum. I think as you say, they've added a couple extra ones this year, but I believe there's always between 35 to 40 bowl games outside of the playoffs. So it's just like a cherry on top for those who didn't get into conference championships and those who didn't get into the playoffs, or those who didn't get into the playoffs, basically.
Yeah, and it's financially rewarding as well for the teams that didn't make it into, like you say, those categories. So
yeah, massively.
It's a big deal, bowl season. I've learned to realise this past week listening to podcasts and stuff. But we, I guess, should we start with the commitment news of Travis Hunter? Ash, it isn't in the doc.
It's not in the doc. It's very last minute decision, as you can imagine. It is signing day, national signing day for those that don't know. This is where all of the 2022 recruits officially put pen to paper and sign their letters of intent. There's a lot of changes. There's a lot of decommitments and moving programs. And as Stocks just mentioned there, the Travis Hunter is probably the biggest news. The number, depending where you're looking, the number 1 or the number 2 in the nation player was originally committed to Florida State right up until the news started coming out, maybe 2 or 3 hours ago, that he was going to be potentially linking up with Jackson State, which is a HBCU school, and it's also coached by Deion Sanders, obviously prime time. I think to begin with, that was sort of looking like it was Deion Sanders sort of trying to big up his program, and then it's started to get a lot of traction. And yeah, Travis Hunter has officially committed and signed his letter of intent to Jackson State, which is a massive pickup for them. I think it's the first. I think he's the highest rated recruit since the ratings came in to go to an FCS school. So it's a massive pickup.
And for those Ash who don't know, Travis Hunter plays.
He's classified as an athlete. So at the moment he plays wide receiver. He plays wide receiver and cornerback safety. Yeah. So he's not defined in exactly what position he's going to play. I think it's difficult. I think if I don't know. I'm not sure which way he's going to land, to be honest with you. I think his first few weeks at Jackson State now is going to define what position he will end up. I would say if I was going to put money on it, he would probably end up in the secondary cornerback. But again, we don't know. He excelled at high school in both aspects, so that's why he's the number 2 or 1 ranked recruit in the country, depending on where you look.
Yeah, the kid's pretty good. Seeing some of his tape, so it's a huge shake-up of the commitment day, and yeah, crazy news. Anyway, moving on to some stuff that we expected to happen, just not to this team. Spencer Rattler has announced his transfer to South Carolina. Rattler's going to join up with Gamecocks head coach Shane Beamer, who was the assistant head coach for the Sooners between 2018 and 2020. So obviously initially we thought he'd go back to his home state of Arizona. That door was shut by Jalen Daniels, who decided to stay another year down at the Sun Devils. So Spencer Rattler is going to somewhere he knows with Shane Beamer.
Yeah, and these were one of the programs that were linked to him once he announced his decision to enter the portal. And as you say, he spent a year with Beamer before he left to become the South Carolina head coach. So he's got that relationship. It became apparent as the season went on that he wasn't going to be getting game time next year, which we obviously mentioned, and he's looking to reestablish himself. And it's not a bad program to join. Beamer has done a good job this year on righting that ship at South Carolina, and they should only be better next year. And it's going to be very interesting to see how Rattler can lead this program. Can he recoup some of that potential that he lost this year?
Yeah, listening to the boys on the Cover 3 podcast, they were saying it was basically off-field stuff that cost Spencer Rattler his job, and we've, if you've seen any of QB1, he wasn't the nicest fella on there, should we say. His attitude was particularly stinky, so perhaps maybe a change of scenery would do him some good, but I guess only time will tell. And like you said, Beamer had a good year, so perhaps maybe they can help Rattler get back to some of his draft stock from what he lost out this year, former predicted number one overall pick. But it's I think it's a good move for him. I think it's a good move for the Gamecocks. I think it's a good move overall. Talking of another good move, Ash, and this one is for you, George, as well. A little bit of Pac-12 love here. Former Indiana quarterback Michael Penick Jr. has announced his transfer to Washington for the 2022 season. Penick Jr. only appeared in 5 games for Indiana in 2021 due to a separated AC joint in his left shoulder. So this is an upgrade for Washington.
It is an upgrade for Washington, but it is a risk for Washington. Obviously, as you mentioned there, he missed a bunch of time this year because of this separated AC joint. He missed almost all of last year with a chest injury, and he also tore his ACL in his freshman year. So he is a very injury-prone player. But when he's on form, he is a solid quarterback, and I think he will improve this Washington team, this Washington offense, if he can stay fit. At times, he can be quite sporadic in his accuracy, but he is a solid quarterback. He just needs to stay fit, and I think this injury probably decided it for him to remain in school. Because to be honest, I think if I at the start of the year thought he would be declaring for the 22 draft, he would have been eligible for this year, but obviously this injury and last year's injury, and he's essentially missed at least every year with injury. So he's been in school for 4 years, and I believe he's had a season-ending injury every year. He's had 2 ACL injuries. He's had the separated shoulder, which he's had this year, and he had the chest injury in 2019. So he is very injury-prone. But it's a massive risk for both sides. But I'd say more so for Penick. He's throwing one last dart at it to have a good season, and and we'll see how that goes next year. But if he can stay on the field, he will be an improvement for the Washington's offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Another quarterback who's on the move is Texas A&M's Zach Calzada. He's going to be entering the transfer portal. Calzada replaced the injured Haynes King early in 2021 and was up and down throughout the season. Started slow, had a good mid-period, and then sort of tailed off towards the end of the season. It's yet to be announced whether Calzada is going to appear in the Gator Bowl against Wake Forest or if the Aggies' freshman Blake Bost will be the starting QB. So this one sort of surprised me a little bit, Ash.
Yeah, it has surprised me that he's decided to enter. As you say, he's had an up and down year, but Haynes King, before he got injured, wasn't lighting the world on light. So I think there would have been another battle in the off-season.
Mm-hmm.
But potentially something's gone on out behind the scenes, because obviously, as you mentioned there, they've got Blake Bost, they've got Haynes King, who's going to be coming back from injury. And I believe they've got another guy in there as well who's quite highly rated, but for the life of me, I can't remember. So maybe he saw the writing on the wall, wasn't interested in a battle like that, and has decided to look elsewhere. But yeah, I'm not overly surprised. I think King comes back and wins this job when he is fit. Calzada's tasted the field for a lot of the time this year. He's got some decent tape on him, and he could probably think he can get a starting job elsewhere. And I think he probably will do. He'll probably enter another battle, but maybe I think he's good enough to step into one of those lesser programs within the Power 5 or Group of 5. So I reckon it's a good move on his side.
Agreed. Another thing that absolutely shocked me, Ash, was that Auburn quarterback Bo Nix is going to remain in school for 2022, but it won't be with Auburn. The 3 years Tiger star has announced his decision to enter the transfer portal. Nix had a very solid 2021 before his injury, which was ankle related. He finished with 2,294 yards, 11 touchdowns, and only 3 picks, which was very good for Bo Nix. And that was over the 10-game period he did play for the Tigers. He's transferring as a graduate transfer, Ash. What does that mean?
I couldn't tell you what that means. I'm sorry, I don't know what a graduate transfer means. But I am very surprised that he is staying in school. Yeah, I'm very surprised that he's staying in school.
He is on my list of players. Well, he's not anymore. I removed him this morning. He was on my list of players to add into the next playbook of my rookie list of quarterbacks for the playbook. But I no longer have to write about Bo Nix this year. But I presume that a grad transfer is somebody who has finished their degree and is transferring to a school.
It is exactly that. Yes, they have earned their degree, but is still eligible without sitting out a year. It allows them to stay in school for a year without having to sit out. So he has graduated, but he's staying one more year. I'm very surprised because this is a wide open draft class, and it's not the strongest draft class. So Bo Nix would have been in consideration for some programs. Not sure where that would be. I don't think he's quite a first rounder. I think maybe second or potentially third, but he's up in that conversation, and he's had a good year before the injury. I thought, was it the Iron Bowl he got hurt? He broke his ankle, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. So that could be a factor. Maybe he doesn't think he's going to be fully fit to get into the to participate in the combine and all the off-season draft stuff. So, but it's a big risk going back if that is the decision, if that's the reason he's made that decision. But very, very surprised. And I'm very interested to see where he ends up with the amount of, well, I mean, obviously Rattlers and Penick are off of the list, but there's still a whole host of a whole host of quarterbacks in the transfer portal. And if I was to put my money on someone, with the way that he plays, I think he could end up in Cincinnati, replacing Desmond Ridder. Because that's a program, even if they lose Ridder and they're going to lose a couple of pieces in the draft, they're still a solid outfit, and they're still going to be a solid outfit next year. He can step into that program, and I think he's got the tools to continue what Ridder done there. And it may be an easy situation for him. I think if I was to put my money on anywhere, that's probably where I would put him.
I'm a massive fan of that. I was gonna say if I had to guess somewhere, he'd go to Tennessee and replace Hendon Hooker, but that I like that since he won. I like that even more. I hadn't even considered that, which is superb. Ash, the next bit of news relates to Clemson. Before we get to that bit of news, I probably absolutely murdered Clemson's backup quarterback name on Monday's show. If you could enlighten me as to how to say this guy's name, because it's just alphabet soup.
Taysom for Mansion, is it not?
For Mansion, okay.
For Mansion?
Okay.
That's probably not right either. But if I was to try and say it, yeah, it'd be for Mansion.
Okay, no, we'll go with that. It's a lot easier to say than the mess I made of it Monday. So yeah, okay. Clemson have announced their new coordinators for the 2022 season. Former quarterbacks coach Brandon Streeter will be the new OC, replacing Tony Elliott, who was announced as Virginia's head coach, while Mikey Kuhn and Wesley Goodwin will be joint DCs, replacing Brent Venables, who is now Oklahoma's new head coach. So Clemson have got their house in order, Ash.
They have indeed, yeah, and they've stayed in house with their hires as well, which, probably the right decision. I don't know, was it the right decision? I mean, they haven't had the best of years, let's be honest. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, clearly Sweeney is happy with his backroom staff if he's decided to promote from within, but I think the fact that those two, the OC and the DC got head coaching jobs this year off the back of the year they've had is probably a surprise in itself. But I don't expect it's just on this year, is it? So
no.
Brent Venables is a good coach. He's been a very good coach up until this point. So I think the Oklahoma role is fitting for him, especially with his history there. But yeah, let's wait and see how they get on.
Yeah, and Tony Elliott as well. You know, Dabo brought them both in from outside as opposed to promoting, and that was when Dabo's job was potentially on the line or way back when. And it'd be interesting to see how this in-house promotion goes, because Dabo is not one who likes to dabble in the outside world. No. He does like to promote from the inside, because there is the Clemson way, as everybody knows. So, right, Ash, we've got the rankings in front of us. Are we going to run through the rankings, or is that old news for everyone now?
I think most people know it, to be honest with you. I think it might just be worth jumping straight into the actual bowl games. So, or we could reel off the top 12 and then just go into the bowl games, I reckon. Because the top 12 is all that really matters now. The rest of them obviously have got their own bowl games, but those 12s are the ones who are going to be competing in the big ones.
Okay. So, 12 is Pitt, 11 Utah, 10 Michigan State, 9 Oklahoma State, 8 Ole Miss, 7 Baylor, 6 Ohio State, 5 Notre Dame, 4 Cincinnati, 3 Georgia, 2 Michigan, 1 Alabama. Bada bing, jobs are good. And Ash, you've got some stats there. That was very quick, and I appreciate that. But there is a few things you've written down that are relevant to the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, they're a couple of weeks old now, so I think most people that would listen to this pod know what the rankings are. So I think it's fair enough. But yeah, there are a few facts or stats that I thought I would chuck in here. So this is the 7th time that Bama have made the playoffs, the 2nd time for Georgia, and it's the first playoff appearance for both Cincinnati and Michigan. The playoffs are, well, I say, relatively new. I think the playoffs started. I know the New Year's 6 games started in 2014. That's what they were known as. I can't remember when the actual playoffs changed to the current way they are. I'm just having to try and have a quick look now. But I think it's, 2014 as well. So this new concept of the playoffs started in 2014. So it's the first time for Cincinnati, the first time for Michigan, 2nd time for Georgia, and 7th time for Bama, which I don't think anyone's surprised about. It's also the 5th time in 8 years that Bama have been number 1 seed in the playoffs. Again, if you were to look at this a month ago, I think people would be very surprised that they were number 1. But on the face of it, the start of the season, that it's Bama, it's probably unsurprising that they finished and that they saw off Georgia in the championship game. It's unsurprising that they finished number 1 again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You've also got Michigan. They are the 3rd Big Ten team to make the playoffs. They joined Ohio State and Michigan State to make the playoffs again since they became their new form in 2014. And Cincinnati is the first AAC team to make the playoffs, and they're not the first group of 5 because obviously UCF. Are they the first group? Did UCF make the playoffs?
I think they're the first group of 5.
I think they're the first group of 5. They're definitely the first AAC, and I'm fairly sure they are the first group of 5 to make the playoffs. And again, massive achievement in itself. That I think from here on out, to be honest, I think the first game, the semi-final as we call it, of the playoffs is their playoff game, is their playoff championship. If they win that, then obviously they're into the championship. I think this game in itself is their championship. With what happened to them last year being left out of it rather unfairly by a lot of people, I think regardless of what happens, this is their championship game.
Yep, 100%. I think anything past this is a bonus for Cincinnati, and they see, like you say, this is their Super Bowl or their championship game, and then I don't think they'll beat Bama, but I obviously the whole college football world is absolutely, unless you're an Alabama fan, Jake, apologies, that everybody wants Cincinnati to go as far as possible. So I will certainly be cheering for Cincinnati against Bama, and they've got, if they turn up, they've got. I want to say they've got a chance. I don't know if they have. I'm so out of depth to that matchup. That's just. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we may as well get onto it. It's the first one, isn't it? The Cotton Bowl.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we've got 2 playoff games, both on December the 31st. The Cotton and the Orange Bowl. I believe. Am I right in thinking this, Ash, that Alabama get to choose as the number 1 seed which bowl they go for?
Oh, you've thrown me there. I didn't realise that was a thing. I thought that they were predetermined, but
I am fairly sure, don't quote me on this, that the number 1 seed gets to choose whether they compete in the Cotton or the Orange Bowl. See, look at me, Ash. I've turned up on the college pod. Season in, and I'm dropping absolute dimes.
Let's have a look. So,
whilst Ash looks for that, Rush Nation, Alabama are currently 13.5-point favourites. The over/under is set at 58, so they are expecting fireworks in this game. If Alabama were 14-point favourites, then you'd be taking that all day long. But the 13.5 is the hooks there for the under 2 touchdowns. So that's tricky badger for me. I'm not sure.
So I can't see anything to say that the number 1 gets to decide which one they go in. But what does happen, which I was aware of, it is the 6 bowl game. So Cotton, Orange, and the ones we'll get onto shortly, Peach, Fiesta, Rose, and Sugar. They rotate each year which 2 are the playoff games and which the remaining 4 are the New Year's 6 games. But I can't see anything to say that they get to choose. That doesn't necessarily. I don't know if it might just not be on the one I'm looking at, but it's. I'm
sure I heard it this week.
Probably. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure that they get some sort of advantage. So, and I mean, that wouldn't surprise me because I think they are always in the same venue, and the Cotton Bowl is in Texas. I want to say it's in Dallas. So.
Okay.
Maybe that's what, but so
some research to be done there.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I reckon that's something to go away and have a look at. But yeah, the Cotton and Orange Bowl this year is the two playoff games, and I think if getting on to the Bama and Cincy one first, you're obviously not as sure. I am a little bit more confident in Cincinnati. I think.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Now, that might be.
Is this the curse?
That might be a curse. It might be a bit of a stretch because of my Cincinnati bias, but I just love what they've done. I think they can pull together as a unit and perform above expectation. I think they've got 2 of the best cornerbacks in the league at the moment in Ahmad Gardner and Kobe Bryant, who I think can shut down the likes of Jameson Williams. I think their run game defense is enough to stop the run game. You've just got to worry about Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young, of course, Heisman winner this year. We saw what he did to the Georgia defense. And the Georgia defense are a better defense than Cincinnati. I'm more confident in Cincinnati's offense being able to keep up with Bama's offense.
Yep.
Ridder can be sporadic at times, but I think he is a top quarterback, and he's shown that this year and last year in particular. And Bama's defense this year have been underrated, and I think it's apparent how underrated they are. That Will Anderson, the linebacker, is the best defensive player in the country at the moment, and he wasn't even in consideration for the Heisman. I think he should have.
Didn't you see that he got the third most first place votes out of everyone and wasn't even at the final four?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. That's what I mean. He was. I can't quite understand why he wasn't there, but most tackles in the country, just an absolute dominant season, and he's still got. I think he's 2024 draft class, but I believe he's eligible next year if he wants to declare early. I probably think he will, because if he has a year like he has had this year, he's going to be the number one. Let's be completely honest. I think he's an absolute beast. But I just think that the Cincinnati offense as a whole can, as I say, keep up with Bama. And I think I would take I would take Cincinnati to win this, and I would
outright?
and I would take the under as well. I think it's going to be a close, lowest. I think it's going to be under 58. I would take Cincinnati and the under on this one.
Holy!
I'm just confident as a unit in Cincinnati on both sides of the ball that they can do enough to keep up with Bryce Young and shut down Bryce Young's weapons.
So we've touched on some teams earlier on in the season, Ash, who we were really high on, and then the following week they crashed and burned.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, we've talked about week in, week out, and the curse of 5 Yard College has not yet struck. So, are they the chest that the curse is contained in, and they cannot be touched with? Well, who knows?
Maybe.
Okay, I like your optimism, and I think your points are all valid. I think the other one is just as close, in my opinion, the Orange Bowl, which again is on December the 31st. Michigan versus Georgia. Georgia are currently 7.5 point favourites, and the over-under is a very low 43. I think Michigan have got the same. I think Michigan can do to Georgia what Alabama did to Georgia.
No.
Okay.
And the reason I say no is because I don't think that you could put the ball in Cade McNamara's hands and he does the same as what Bryce Young did. Georgia will shut down this run game, and McNamara is not good enough to put the offense on his shoulders. Their defense will keep them in this game, no doubt about it. McNamara will make plays because he does, but he's not been asked to do a great deal on this offense. It's been through their run game predominantly this season, and it's a fantastic run game. So there's no reason why you wouldn't put it through them. But I think Georgia's defense are going to be able to shut down the run game enough to put it on the shoulders of McNamara, and I just don't think he's got what it takes to overcome the Georgia defense.
Okay,
personally,
no, that's fair.
But on the same side. On the same topic, I think it's a similar situation with Stetson Bennett and the Michigan defense. I think the Michigan defense are going to stop the Georgia run game, and I don't think Stetson Bennett is good enough to overcome the Michigan pass defense, which I understand why it's a low-scoring affair. I still think Georgia are going to have more than enough to see off Michigan, but I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. And I wouldn't be surprised to see either quarterbacks have a good game.
Okay. No, that's fair. The points are all valid, and I'm here to listen, and I've taken it on board. But I just think that I think everything has fallen into place for Jim Harbaugh. If Georgia had have beaten Alabama when they last played, then I would have said no chance. But I think now, Jim Harbaugh is a good enough coach to have seen what Alabama did and build enough of a game. Like you say, their defense will keep them in it. And I think of the two offenses, I think they have a slightly better offense. And that was regardless of Georgia's defense. We've seen what an elite offense with Alabama can do. And I think a good offense can keep Georgia honest enough that Michigan will be in this one. So
you taking the over under?
Oh man, this we talked about the Michigan, the last Michigan game being that it could be who was it? Which game did we say could be like a 7-3 game that was? I
can't remember.
We talked about a game that Michigan were in, and we said that they could control this game. 7-3.
Michigan State, wasn't it?
possibly.
Yeah.
And I think this game could be stupid low as well. But 43 is so low. Although saying that, I took the under in the Army Navy game the other day, and that came in, and that was 33.5. So
Yeah, I think it will. I would take the under. I think the Georgia being favourites. I mean, I wouldn't take that -7.5. I think this is going to be a one-score game, and I can imagine it's going to be something like 21-14 or 21-20. I think it's going to be a very close game.
yeah.
But I just think Georgia have got enough to shut down McNamara, and I think and they're good enough defensively to stop this run game enough.
Okay. We should have a show bet for this one. I'm trying to think of a good reason for this, a good way of. So you think Cincy and the under in the first game,
Yeah.
and I want to take Michigan, and I think it's going to be under 2.
Okay.
So based on that, okay,
We're gonna be making bank.
yeah, someone's gonna cash, and then obviously we've got January the 10th, the national championship. That's the one everybody wants to get to, and we will be talking about that in a lot more detail as we get closer to January the 10th, and once Christmas and New Year is rolled out of the way. Ash, let's talk some New Year. 6 games on the 30th of December. So the first one is before the 2 semi-finals. You've got the Peach Bowl, Michigan State versus Pitt. Pitt are 3.5-point favourites, and the over/under is 63.5 in this one. So we are fully expecting Pitt and Michigan State to go hammer and tongs.
Yeah, but will Kenny Pickett be there? That is the question.
Yeah,
I don't think he will. I think it's pretty evident that he's going to the draft this year. And
on the same vein, then, is Kenneth Walker going to be there, or will he?
No, I don't think either of them will be. We're already seeing, and we'll get on to the next one we'll be talking about. We'll be getting onto a couple of players that won't be there. I think by the time we get to 30th of December, I have a strong suspicion that we'll be missing a Pickett and a Walker, which makes this game even more interesting because
which makes that over under massively high.
I agree. In this one, I think. I don't know. I think I would probably agree with the odds. I would say Pitt are slight favourites, but it's so dependent on Pickett.
Yes.
I think if Pickett isn't there, I think if Walker isn't there, I think Michigan State have probably still got enough. I think if Pickett's missing, I don't know what their backup's like. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't even know what his name is. I don't know enough about him to still be confident in that offense. I think it runs through Pickett. I think, yes, Michigan State offense has ran through Walker this year, but I think the remaining cast can still do enough, and their defense has been solid for the majority of the year. I would probably take Michigan State if Pickett isn't there. If Pickett's there, I would take Pitt. It's that finer detail. I think one player is going to make the difference in this game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Drew Pine is the backup quarterback at Notre Dame.
Okay, no idea.
Yeah, that's what makes these, the semi-finals for the playoffs are easy games because no one's leaving for the draft for those until the games have all played. Whereas, excuse me, the New York 6 games and all the rest of the bowl games, all the lines and stuff's out there. But back in these games, you just don't know what's going to happen by the time some of these games roll around. Like who's going to be playing, and you need to wait till before the game to get the money on. I think. Unless the line breaks down really early on, and you can like that over under. If Kenny Pickett's probably not going to be there, that seems very high. So you could probably back that the under now and take the value there if that's still the line. On the 1st of January, we've got 3 games: the Fiesta, the Rose, and Sugar, as Ash aforementioned said. The first one with the Fiesta Bowl is Notre Dame at Oklahoma State. The Irish are 2.5 points favourites in a 45-point over/under. Defense.
Well, yeah, and this is the team, Notre Dame, the team that I was on about that have already lost a couple of players. Obviously, Carl Hamilton, top safety in the 2022 class, one of the top prospects in the 2022 class as a whole, has missed the back end of this season. He's been out since late October, I think it was. He injured himself. He's obviously already said that he's not going to be in this game. He's declared for the draft. He's getting ready for that. They've also lost Kyrie Williams, their running back, who I, as the listeners will know, am a massive fan of. I think I went with him as my plant the flag this year, but I need to go back and have a look. I'm fairly confident I went Kyrie Williams. I went in my running back, but he's said he's forgoing this game as well, and he's going to the draft. So 2 big ticket players for Notre Dame not in this game. Hamilton is a big loss, but they've obviously adjusted without him for the back end of this season. I think Kyrie Williams is going to be a big loss for them.
Yep.
But they've also got the rejuvenation. Yes, they lost Brian Kelly, but Marcus Freeman has been promoted. And I think, is he their youngest head coach in history? I know he's 35, and I'm pretty sure he's their youngest head coach in history. So what a game to be in charge of for one of your first games in charge. Actually, I think it is their first game in charge because, of course, they're independent. So they wouldn't have had a conference game this year. So I'm fairly sure this bowl game, New Year's Six bowl game, will be Freeman's first game in charge. I would take Notre Dame in this one. Again, I think it's going to be close. I think Oklahoma State defense are top tier this year in particular.
Mm-hmm.
But Spencer Saunders is very suspect with the ball in his hands.
That's kind
yeah, exactly. And Notre Dame's defense have been good in the back end of this season. They've improved massively from the start of the year. We were all quite worried about Notre Dame towards the start of the year, and they've just taken it up another level after the first 3 or 4 weeks. And their defense in particular has been solid. And I think they're just going to cause Saunders and the offensive line all sorts of mischief.
Mm-hmm.
I think the over-under and the Notre Dame being minus 2.5 favourites is probably fair. I would be in the same sort of vein as that. But it's hard to look past Notre Dame in this one.
Yeah, agreed. New coach wants to get off to a winning start.
Yeah.
Get the dub there. Right, next one, Rose Bowl. Is your Buckeyes taking on Utah in a bar? This could be an absolute barnstormer. The Buckeyes are nearly 6.5 point favourites. The over-under is set at a huge 67.
Yeah, I know it's Ohio State and it's the Ohio State offense and it's CJ Stroud and co. I was still surprised to see that over under at 67 because in the last few weeks in particular, Utah's defense has been fantastic. They've really, really improved. I was surprised to see it so high, but I think if Stroud is on point and the offense is on point, this game is going to go one or two ways. Utah, of course, are going to have that emphasis of winning the Pac-12 title against Oregon last week, week before last, and coming into a New Year's Six bowl game, whereas obviously Ohio State have missed out on the playoffs. They lost to Michigan and didn't make the Big Ten. Utah are going to have the emphasis. They're going to have the motivation. But I think Ohio State's offense is too overpowered for this Utah defense that have been good. And they have been good, as I say, in the last few weeks. But I just think Stroud on his day is just going to be too much for Utah. So I would say, to be honest, I would probably take would I take the over? 67 is a lot.
Yeah, it is. But
I would still take the over.
Yeah, I think the over's good. I think you're right. CJ Stroud is going to put it on Utah, but then we've seen over the last 3 weeks that Utah can also put points up, which is why 67 is fair. If Utah put up 30, 32, 35, something like that, then you're pretty sure the Buckeyes are going to get near to 40. So 67's, I think 67's the right call, and I'd be on the over by just.
Yeah, I would probably back the over as well. I would say both are fair. Ohio State by a touchdown in the over, high scoring affair. But yeah, I just think Ohio's offense has got a bit too much for Utah on the day.
Yeah, and I think they've got something to prove as well, like missing out on the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then finally, we've got the Sugar Bowl also on the 1st of January. So happy New Year, everyone. Baylor are taking on Ole Miss. Baylor, this is basically a pick, and Baylor are 1.5 point favourites with the over-under set at 53.
Yeah, potentially no Gary Bohannon for Baylor, which could be an impact. Of course, he did miss the Big 12 championship game as well, and his backup, who for the life of me, his name has gone out of my head, did a good job. What was his name? He was a freshman.
His name
Shepton, I think.
is Blake Shapen.
Shapen, that's close. Shapen.
Yeah,
I think he's done a good job in relief. There are reports that Bohannon could be back, and I think if he is, that will be a massive boost for Baylor. But I think Ole Miss's offense this year has been fantastic. I think they ranked in the top 20 offenses this year, and I think Matt Corral will put the ball in his hands, and if he feels like it, I think he could have an absolute field day over Baylor. But again, I think you're right. I think the odds are spot on here. I think it is a pick 'em. You can go either way, and won't be disappointed if it turns out the other way. I personally will be going with Ole Miss. I think Lane Kiffin's offense is just, and Matt Corral in particular, have just been fantastic all year, and I struggle to look past that, even if it is against this Baylor defense. And I'm not over. I think they've done, as I said, I think Shepard and Bohannon have done a good job this year, but they've been a bit like Bohannon's been suspect at times in his passing. So if he is the one leading the line, you've got that to worry about. If it's Shepard, you've got a freshman coming up against Ole Miss. So yeah, I if I had to put money on it, it would be Ole Miss.
Yeah, and is Corral going to play? That's the thing. Is Matt Corral going to?
I mean, it's another one. Yeah, it is a potential that he might not. But I think he seems like the type of player that would.
Sort of stand-up fella.
Yeah, no, just I think I feel like he's always got a point to prove, and I think the not winning the Heisman. I think despite the fact he was not really, he was in consideration, but he wasn't, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I think he probably will take that as enough. I think he'll take that offensively. And let's be honest, he's going into the draft this year, and a good bowl game could put him right up to the top. Because as I said earlier, this draft class for quarterbacks is so open at the moment. In my opinion, there's easily 3 guys that are vying for the number 1 quarterback. Corral's one of them. Solid bowl game could help his cause massively.
Yep, fully agree with that. Right, Ash. The next set of bowl games start this Friday on the 17th of December, and then all the way through to the 1st of January, barring Boxing Day, there is college football on television.
I know. Great, isn't it?
It's superb.
It is indeed. Obviously, I think if we tried to go through all of them, we'd be sat here for hours. So as they are out into the future, what I thought is we would give a quick rundown of what they are and who's playing and what date. And then as we go through the next couple of weeks, when the games come up, we can discuss them then. What do you reckon? Yeah,
fully on board with that. Fully on board with that. Any betting advice would be muchly appreciated. We, excuse me, we do start this Friday though, actually. We've got the Cure Bowl with Northern Illinois versus Coastal Carolina, and the Bahamas Bowl, Middle Tennessee versus Toledo. Traveling to the Bahamas sounds delightful for a bowl game. I don't know.
It does, yeah. It sounds absolutely fantastic. I would hope that it is in the Bahamas and it's not just a name a name for it. Let's have a look. Bahamas Bowl. Come on, it's got to be, hasn't it? Oh, it is. It actually is in the Bahamas. That is, Toledo and Middle Tennessee are the winners of the bowl games already. It's decided.
Well, there you
go. On December 18th, which is the Saturday, there is a whole bunch of games being played. First off is the Independence Bowl, which is number 13th ranked BYU against UAB. The New Orleans Bowl is Marshall versus Louisiana, who are ranked number 23 in the final playoff rankings. The New Mexico Bowl is UTEP versus Fresno State. We then have the Boca Raton Bowl, which is Western Kentucky versus App State. The LA Bowl is Utah State versus Oregon State. And the final game on Saturday is the Lending Tree Bowl, which is Eastern Michigan versus Liberty. Malik Willis's final game, potentially. Well, yeah,
it will be.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so.
Yeah, there's some good games. I think
so.
There's some really good games. Like UTEP, Fresno, Western Kentucky, App State. That could be really good. Utah State, Oregon State, George won. Just saying he's going to get up for that. That could be an absolute belter. That is sponsored by Jimmy Kimmel. Did you know that?
I did see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I seen that he was sponsoring the bowl game this year, which I think is
bizarre.
mental.
Like an
Yeah,
actual
mental.
person.
Yeah,
I have no idea
crazy.
how much it is. Like how much to sponsor a bowl game.
I can't imagine it's cheap.
No, I can't imagine it's cheap either. But it would be good to get. We get one. Who's one of the new ones? We could probably get a 5-yard college bowl game there.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Or when it comes, if we get a bowl game in the UK.
Well, crikey, we've got to get a. I mean, I know it's in Ireland, but we've got to get a college game over here first.
That's true.
But I mean, yeah, and then I told a lie, Ash. There's no game on the 19th of December. Is this list an American list or the British list?
Good question.
Because if this is the American list, one of those games that you mentioned might leak into the 19th.
Yeah, this is the. I'm fairly sure this is the American list. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the American list. But
okay, cool.
So it'll be Sunday morning here, but usually we don't see college football on a Sunday because obviously Sunday is for NFL. But yeah, from a UK point of view, yeah, there will be a couple. I suspect the LA. Would it be LA? What side's LA on?
That's West Coast.
Yeah, there will be a couple of these games that will be in the.
I also feel like some of these bowl games, Ash, you've missed out a little bit of the actual name because some of them are like sponsors.
I've not put the sponsors in. These are just the actual bowl game names because the sponsors change. They can change each year. So like Lending Tree has a sponsor as well, but it is the Lending Tree Bowl.
Gotcha.
The LA is obviously Jimmy Kimmel LA, but it is the LA Bowl. So all of these ones, as we get down the list, will sound like they are a sponsored bowl. They are, but then there's also, for some of them, there's an additional sponsor. I've just done what the actual bowl game's called.
I like that because some of them are ridiculous. With the sponsors and the name, they are ridiculous.
Yes.
So we've only got one game on December the 20th. That's the Myrtle Beach Bowl. That's Tulsa versus Old Dominion. Old Dominion get a trip down to Myrtle Beach in Carolina, so that will be absolutely delightful. And then I'm going to do another one, Ash, on December the 21st. We've got the Frisco Bowl, UTSA against San Diego State. That could be a wicked game of football. And then the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, which is ridiculous in its own right, is Kent State versus Wyoming.
Yeah. That is the one that I thought you were referencing when you said about some ridiculous names. There's another one a bit further down that we'll get onto as well. But yeah, I think San Diego State UTSA will be a good game, definitely.
Yeah.
I will reel off the next couple of days. So December 22nd is the Armed Forces, which of course involves Army versus Missouri. And then on December 23rd, you've got the Gasparelli Bowl, which is going to be a fantastic game. Is Florida versus UCF. So there is a Florida derby in the Gasparelli Bowl, which is going to be very exciting to see. And you've also got the Frisco Classic, which is Miami, Ohio versus North Texas, also taking place on the 23rd of December.
I heard that the Gasparilla, I didn't what a Gasparilla is. It's something to do with a party on boats down in Tampa or something like that. It's basically spring break, but on boats in Tampa.
Well, that sounds good to me. I'll be honest with you, I read it as I thought it was petrol. I thought it was petrol. What am I thinking of? I swear there's something along those sort of lines that sounds similar to that, but clearly I'm wrong.
No, I mean I could be well off base.
No, you are right. Yeah, you're right that it's in Tampa. That's as far as I can tell you. It is it's the Gasparilla Pirate Festival. It's a parade hosted in Tampa, Florida.
There you go. Everyone dresses up as pirates and gets hammered. It sounds fantastic.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, we should plan that for like a couple of years' time. A 5-yard college trip to the Gasparilla Festival.
I think Myrtle will be up for it as well if it's in Tampa.
Absolutely. My one of my team names is the 5-Yard Pirates, so it's absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. The Armed Forces Bowl, Ash. Does Army always represent in that?
I don't think it's always the Army. I think the Navy also are potentially eligible in it.
And Air Force, surely.
Of course, yeah, the Air Force are as well.
Talking of Navy, did you see Navy's uniform in the Army-Navy game?
Yeah, I said, to be fair, I always like their uniforms. I think
Yeah.
that game is obviously is an event in itself because it's obviously Army Navy, but the uniform's always top class. So
Yeah. The Navy uniform this year, the helmet, like the matte grey helmet, was sick.
yeah.
Sick. Where do we get to? Christmas Eve, December the 24th, is the
Mm.
Hawaii Bowl. Memphis versus Hawaii. Again, I'm not sure Hawaii are always in that, right?
No,
This is
think
just
so.
perfect. The stars are aligning here.
Mm.
Teams to win their bowl. That Hawaii game is actually taking place in Hawaii's practice facility, not in Hawaii Stadium. And I think it holds 5,000 or 7,000 people. So it'll be a very,
Oh.
very intimate venue, that
It
Hawaii
will
Bowl.
indeed. Yeah,
And then
9,000, the Clarence TC Ching Athletics Complex.
there you go. And then on Christmas Day, we got the Camellia Bowl, Ball State versus Georgia State. College football Christmas Day
Yeah,
does not get any better than this.
that is great, isn't it? You can't. Got to love having football on Christmas Day. I know we get NFL on Christmas Day as well, don't we? Usually.
Yeah, I'm sort of 3-4 years ago, something. It must be 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. I know the Steelers played Christmas Day. Actually, I remember them playing.
Yeah,
Christmas
they
Day.
did. Yeah, brilliant. What a day! I mean, got to love having football on Christmas Day, because especially if it's in the evening, it's even better because you get all the family stuff out of the way, and then when everyone's chilling and are too full of food and maybe a few too many ports, have a nice little sit down on the sofa and watch a bit of football. You can't beat it.
Didn't have you down as a port man, Ash.
Oh, I am. God, I'll be honest with you, mate. I'll drink anything on Christmas. But port's usually there. Bit of Bailey's, not together. Don't usually go together. But
Curdle mix.
yeah, definitely. There are no games on Boxing Day. Everyone needs a rest on Boxing Day, even football. So next set of games are on December 22nd. We've got the Military Bowl, which is ECU versus Boston College, and we've also got the Quick Lane Bowl, which is Western Michigan versus Nevada. And it'll be very interesting to see if Carson Strong and Romeo Dubes are involved in that bowl game.
Or Cole. I don't think Cole Turner's playing either. I'm fairly sure
they're all
Turner's not playing already.
I would be very surprised to see them represent Nevada in that game.
Absolutely, 100% agree. On the 28th of December, there are 5 games. The Holiday Bowl, which is very apt, is UCLA against NC State, who are ranked 18th. The Birmingham, said that in my American accent, the Birmingham Bowl is Houston versus Auburn. Obviously, no Bo Nix in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got the First Responder Bowl, Louisville against Air Force. The Liberty Bowl, Texas Tech versus Mississippi State. That could be a good game. And then the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, Minnesota versus West Virginia.
Yeah, I think that Birmingham Bowl, Houston versus Auburn, despite the fact that Bo Nix isn't going to be there, I think is going to be a great game to watch. And I agree with you. Texas Tech versus Mississippi State should be a fun one as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Is Leddy Brown declaring this year? Are we expected him to come out?
I think he probably will do. I need to start having a look deeper into.
It's so difficult because I've started to write my list, obviously, for the playbook, but without people declaring and stuff, it's really difficult at this time of year to say whether they will or not.
Yeah. I think from here on out is when we'll start getting a real understanding of who's going to be in and who's not, especially the underclassmen. They're the main ones. Obviously, I think Leddy Brown's a senior, is he not? So he definitely will be coming out this year.
I wasn't sure. So
unless the year of eligibility is carried over, I'm fairly sure Leddy Brown will be coming out this year. I'm pretty sure he's a senior. I think he should. I think this is a good year for him to come out. But
yeah, very good.
Yeah, so we might not see him in the game either. On December 29th, we've got 4 games. Probably one of the pick of the bunch, to be honest. The Alamo is Oklahoma, number 16 ranked Oklahoma against number 14 ranked Oregon. You've then got another brilliantly named Cheez-It Bowl, which is number 19 Clemson against Iowa State. I love Cheez-Its.
What's the Cheez-It? Is it like a what's it?
They're like they're like little crackers, like Ritz.
Yeah.
They're like that. They're in a box, but they've got so many different flavors over there. I also think it's I don't know if this is 100%. I know that they're crackers because I've ordered them on American shops before, but I'm pretty sure they are a cheese spray as well. Like, you know, you get it in the can and you squeeze it out.
God.
I haven't tried that, and I'm not 100% sure if that is definitely called Cheez-It, but I know they do the crackers, and they're fantastic. They do jalapeno ones. Oh, delightful. Anyway, sidetracked. There's 2 more games on December the 29th. You've also got the Pinstripe, which is Virginia Tech versus Maryland, and the Fenway, which is Virginia versus SMU, which I think is going to be a fantastic game.
That will be an absolute belter.
I think all 4 of these games on December 29th are going to be brilliant games. You've got 3 ranked teams, and then you've also got Iowa State, who had a good year, SMU, who had a good year. The 2 Virginia teams are there, and then Maryland as well. I think it's going to be that's going to be a great day.
Guys played at Fenway Park.
Well, yeah, that's why it's called the Fenway Bowl.
Yeah, but some of these are.
I know.
I was just checking. That could be cold. That could be a cold game in Boston.
Yeah, it will be, I expect.
Yeah. I didn't know. I didn't realize that. Played in a baseball stadium. I thought that was done now with Oakland moving out of Raiders Stadium. Okay, December the 30th. We've got 3 games. The Las Vegas Bowl. If you were in Vegas for a New Year's Eve celebration, get down and I'm assuming this is in Alliance Stadium. I could be well wrong. But it should be a good game. The Wisconsin Badgers are playing Arizona State. You've also got Music City, Purdue versus Tennessee. I'm assuming Tennessee are at home there, Tennessee being the Music City.
Yeah, I mean, it will be technically, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I would be hugely surprised if we see Hendon Hooker in that game. And then finally, Duke's Mayo, UNC versus South Carolina. 2 Carolina teams going at it in the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Duke's Mayo, yeah, I think, yeah. I think that UNC South Carolina game will be good. It's just a shame Rattler won't be there for that one, but he'll obviously be with him next year.
Yep.
And then New Year's Eve, we've got 3 games on. The Gator Bowl, which is seeing 2 ranked teams, Wake Forest, who were number 17, against Texas A&M at 25. You've then got the Sun Bowl, which is Miami versus Washington State. And finally, the Arizona Bowl, Central Michigan versus Boise. That Wake Forest Texas A&M game is going to be a very intriguing game. Obviously, it sounds like there's going to be a freshman under center for Texas A&M. Or I am seeing reports that Haynes King may well be fit enough to participate in the bowl game.
Well, he'd want to be, wouldn't he?
Watch this space. Yeah, definitely. If he can get on the field before the end of the year, now Calzada's gone, show that he's fit and have a good game against a solid Wake Forest team, that will do his next year's starting position a world of good.
Yep. It's called the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. I'm just trying to look up where it is. Ash, the TIAA Bank Field. Where is that? I know it's in Jacksonville. Is that that's not where the Jags play though, is it?
TIAA Bank Field. No, it's not the Jaguars. It's not the Jaguars. Yeah, it's the Jaguars. Yeah.
Really?
It is the Jaguars, yeah.
I didn't think that was the name of their stadium.
Primarily, yeah, it used to be the Jacksonville Municipal Stadium. And yeah, it's now the TIAA Bank Field Stadium.
Well, there you go.
It was also the Altel Stadium as well.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
And Everbank. Everbank Field is what you'll know it as.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it changed names in 2018.
Rubbish. Did you do New Year's Day, Ash, or is that down to me?
No, got New Year's Day.
New Year's Day. Is there a game on January the 4th? Is there a 3-day break between?
There is, yeah. Randomly, there is a game on January the 4th. Don't know why, but yeah.
Hey, but before we get to that, there's 2 games on New Year's Day. We've got the Citrus Bowl. Iowa, ranked 15th, are going to be taking on Kentucky, who are ranked 22nd. And then the Outback Bowl, probably not played in Australia. That's Penn State versus Arkansas, who are ranked 21st. And then, as mentioned, we've got a game on January the 4th. The Texas Bowl, Kansas State are playing LSU.
Yeah. I don't know why that game is so much further out. Like, I don't know why it's not on the 3rd yeah, I understand why it's not on the 2nd because that's a Sunday, but why not the Monday?
Maybe.
Anyway.
I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? If you do know, let us know.
Yeah, New Year's Day, Iowa, Kentucky. That's going to be a solid game, and Penn State, Arkansas is going to be a solid game as well. I haven't put a ranking next to Penn State, but surely they Did they not finish ranked? No, they didn't, did they?
They did
Blimey.
not. They are in the
They
not
did not.
in the top 25.
They did not finish ranked. Yeah, but no, that's two quality games to start the new year, and then we've obviously got Kansas State LSU on the 4th, and then the following is it Monday, 10th? Yeah, it will be. The national championship is Monday morning for us, I believe.
Monday.
Or is it Tuesday morning?
Better get this right, Ash, because I'm going to book it off. Yeah,
I'm not sure. You'll have to have a look. You'll have to have a look. I'm pretty sure it's Monday the 10th for America. So
we've got a bit of time. We've got
exactly.
a bit of time.
Yeah, we've got plenty of time. But
there's
lots of bowl games to come. Lots of football still left to come, which is always great to see. But it starts getting into the real fun time soon.
Yeah, it's fantastic how they've spread them all out as well. Because just makes the season longer for everybody, and we get to watch more football, which is great for fans and for draftniks like yourself. And I've got a couple of nuggets of information for everybody, Ash. The first is that Tom sent me a cheeky photo of him writing his first mock draft of the season. So I've got no idea of when that's coming.
Do you know what's brilliant? I don't know if I messaged you this or not, but I have had the exact same idea. I want to get a new top 100 done already. I want to get just an initial one done. And I also want to get a mock draft done as well. So me and Tom are on the same wavelength. Don't surprise me, because I'm pretty sure as soon as the season ended last year, we jumped straight into a mock draft. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, he's been chomping at the bit for weeks, I bet.
Well, Mel Kiper's already put one out, hasn't he? So
yeah, exactly.
It's no surprise that it's coming thick and fast. But we're going to be talking about bowl games as they come over the next couple of weeks, obviously, because there's still football to talk about. Talking about results, talking about games coming, talking about any picks we like, that sort of thing. We will be getting into players. We'll be getting into the draft. We'll be getting into Ash's mock drafts, top 100. Loads of ideas Ash is coming up with, which is superb. It's going to be let's just put it this way. The college football season does not stop for us. The games stop, but our game of the college football knowledge train is just continuing on and on. So
1 a.m. on Tuesday the 11th is the national championship for anyone interested.
Well, that's me booking the Tuesday off. Cannot wait.
No,
cannot wait.
But no, like you say, lots more stuff to come now. As I say, as much as everyone loves the college season, I think it's the bread and butter for all of us. There isn't anything quite like the build up to the draft and the players declaring, the players not declaring, the mock drafts, the review of the individual players, because you get so caught up in the season of the teams. You see spatterings of players here and there, but obviously you're focused on the results and the games themselves. And now we get to do a real deep dive into the tape of individual players. And I think that's, for me, watching individual players is one of the most exciting things about college football.
Yeah. If you are expecting any articles from me after January Rush Nation before April, best of luck with that, because I am diving into the playbook again. But the boys will be covering everything, and I'll still be here on a weekly basis on the podcast. So don't worry about it. Information will still be there. Not that anyone reads my articles, because I've got a very satirical way of writing. So if you don't like my humour, I hear you. I'm here for that. Listen, Ash, absolute pleasure to have you back, mate. As much as I enjoyed George's company, it wasn't the same without you, so I'm pleased you're back.
I am pleased to be back.
Sneaky bit of we've been invited onto the 5 Yard Dynasty pod at some point at the end of January to talk about players for this year's draft. Obviously, basically offensive only, because I'm not sure they really do any Dynasty IDP, but maybe we can try and push them for that and get a bit of crossover with that.
I will get some defensive players in that conversation, don't you worry. Anybody who's listened to this podcast since the inception knows my soft spot for defensive players, so I'm going to force it down their neck.
You will. I mean, to be fair, Ash, any of the defensive players that you mentioned would have been on my 5 Yard Showdown winning team, because I'm just that good at picking players.
There we go. This year you are.
And last year and the year before. A triple threat. It doesn't happen often. I three-peated, baby. Listen, Rush Nation, it's a Wednesday night. I don't know after this, Ash, what day we're going to stick to. It could be fluid, let's be honest.
Yeah.
We want the information to be correct, so we'll see where we're going. But Rush Nation, it's been an absolute pleasure once more to have you join us for this stream on a Wednesday evening. If you're listening to the podcast, thanks very much. If you do watch the stream or the video later on, head over to YouTube, hit the like, hit the notification so you know when Ash and I or the rest of the 5 Yard Boys go live. Content is coming. It's fantasy football playoffs. I don't know how I've done, I'll be honest. My contribution to college has been much bigger than NFL fantasy this year, but the boys over there are smashing it as always. The college boys have got content coming out on the reg. It's just a fun time to be a football fan, and we've got 20 days of football now, something like that, which is superb. So college football's not over. It's just on every day. It makes it even sweeter. But Rush Nation, until next week at some point when Ash are back in your ears, don't forget Saturdays are for rushing too.